Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next town hall. Today is February 21st. Got quite a bit to go over. First off, I'll start with a couple IFT announcements. I put in the IFT Town Hall Discord a link to the kind of, agenda for this, and I'll keep doing that from now on, and also try and get it done a little bit earlier. But it has everything I'm going to go over with links so that you'd like to follow ahead of time or just have the link for sharing later, you have it. And for those watching on YouTube, I'll put all these links in the description as well afterward. So, announcements. We now have, I'll go ahead and add my thing here to the stage. We now have S&T on base. So we've been pushing, just kind of spread the access that status gives across the board. And when we push access to various platforms in L2s, we should probably have S&T on top of those, on those platforms. So now we have S&T on both Arbitrum and base. So have fun, use them, put in the link, share it, tell your friends, do all that. There has been a internal push, kind of a campaign to understand what skills we have across the organization. I've been asking to do this for a while. I think it'll be really useful. Like, we all get brought on to the organization to do a specific task, but for any individual, we probably have skills that are outside of that task alone. So what we're working on and what we're capable of working on are different things, and it's good to know what that is. So, like, in the event that somebody wants to do something new, they should be able to look up and see if we have people who know how to do all the things required to do that, even if they're not actively working on that thing. So there's a what I would call a skills map. It's being started across the board. Status has, I believe, completed it for the most part, and I believe it's moving on to Waku, but we expect Melanie and Leonard to reach out and start asking for these so that in the end we have this nice place to go to see who all can do what, so we can start working together on new stuff and understand what we have available to us in the organization. As for other announcements, not too much right now, but if you want to know what's going on, at least with respect to the updates around projects and some of the nitty gritty, go to the Leads Roundup in the Logos Discord, and everything's put there. I try my best to consume this into the chat bots. You can ask it, but it's not always very accurate, and it's not up to date completely. So go there for the latest of latest. And if you can't find it there, ask me. So up first, in terms of content, is going to be Lou. I'll bring her to the stage, and she's going to talk about some of the things that happened in PSC and maybe what we have upcoming. Go ahead.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for having me. Really nice to meet new people, talk with those that we've not engaged with, and share some things we've worked on and we're working on the rest of this year. My name's Lou. I look after events at IFT. Been here about 1.5 years. I've been fortunate enough to work with many of you previously, and look forward to working more with the rest of you in the future. I think as a kind of leading on from Corey's point around skills, my background, obviously probably familiar with the work I've done for crypto events and events more in our sector. But I think, interestingly, and it's kind of relevant to some of this presentation, I spent 15 years working on festivals, experiences, art events, corporate events, really where we were trying to foster community, build communities, and really kind of looking at the intersection of culture and how that transcends across different areas. So yeah, that's a bit about me. I think we're here today to talk about Parallel Society Congress, which was an event we did in Bangkok last year, and our plans for evolving the event as we look to 2026. So I'll kick off. You'll notice here that we are playing with a slightly different name, Parallel Society Festival. I think that comes down to some thinking around how we harness new experiences, how we really place community at the center of what we do, and we kind of create a different type of cultural gathering that we can really progress our movement further. There's a few other things I think it's kind of key to keep in mind as we just quickly look through this presentation is why did we do PSC, Parallel Society Congress, and why might we continue this journey forward? And that's really coalition building, community building, and I guess to really cement a culture around the movement that we're all trying to build, bringing people together, strengthening connections. And events can be a really impactful way to do that, but I think events that are well orchestrated and are part of a 6-month campaign where you're aligning to the key wider strategy of what you're trying to do, and really ensuring that we do so in a way that has the best impact for all parties involved. Events can and should be viewed as a cultural mechanism. I think in the case of the audiences here, how can we use events and gatherings and networking to foster civil organizing? And I think that's really key to our focus for this year. The one thing I would say, I'm probably not the most natural presenter, but thankfully I have a really nice design deck, which has been contributed by the movement team, by communications team, and the design team to bring something together that's impactful. And we will be taking this out to coalition partners that we would like to become a part of this second edition with us. So what is it? Parallel Society Festival. So we are aiming to build the future beyond borders, creating a flagship event that can become the flagship of this movement. So we've historically aligned our events to others, be that within the Ethereum community or within others. And I think pending commitment from a coalition, creating something that's standalone could be really impactful, that's multi-day, interactive, with really the primary goal being to bring together the right people to create culture and technologies that will really help shape the post-nation state future. What kind of opportunities are there around this? Well, clearly we're kind of in this time where network states, pop-up cities are a big trend and a big next step for the segment. But there is opportunities, I think, to push that further. So looking at culture first. So how do we create great IRL experiences that create law and, really differentiate from the marketplace? How do we further segment coalition partnerships, uniting thought leaders, and really create a coalition-led event to advance this movement forward? Bangkok. I know many of the people probably listening were there, and it was great to see many faces, but here's just a bit of a summary of that event and also a look at the impact that it had. The purpose of the event was to kind of invite the discussion of some of the pressing questions that we face. Those are written there. I don't need to read those out for you, but you can see there the look and feel of the venue where we kind of executed this on the video here. So what happened? So we went into this event a little bit unsure of, I guess, the extent of impact we might be able to have. We went in with targets of having 5 external speakers, 3 partners, 300 attendees. It snowballed quite quickly, and we were able, with Stephen and Santiago and the team in their outreach, to onboard 29 different speakers, 10 partners. We had 3K registrations to the event and over 500 people through the door. And I think the most important thing as well is 16.7 million impressions, of which around 330,000 of those were organic. We ended up launching the event 7 weeks before it took place. So again, that kind of supports the vision of, if we plan this with more time and we have a 6-month campaign around this, then you would expect those figures to be closer to 100 million. So we get greater ROI in terms of the investment that we put into the exercise. We can have robust content that underpins multiple narratives that are important to what we're all trying to achieve, and we can really create something that has a big impact around that. Here's just some snapshots of a few different pictures for those that weren't there. And here's an overview of some of the key collaborators that were part of that. So our target was 3, we ended up with over 15. And again, a few more photos. I think here that I'd also like to add that it really was a team effort across design, working on every touch point around key people in the communications team, really trying to kind of do something that was not just a conference, that had created a lasting impact on the people that wanted to come and created a kind of platform where and spaces where people in the audience could really connect with each other. I love this picture here of these 2 people hugging, but I'm a softie. Further pictures. And here's a snapshot of some of the speakers that we had and the diversity of projects and segments and different things that they're focused upon, which I think we would really look to drive forward in the 2nd edition. As well as the main stage, I think a lot of value also comes from those smaller, intimate working spaces where people can be working on different workshops, different pilots, be kind of interacting much more with each other as a community as well. But why take my word for it? Here's some stuff around some feedback that we got. So on average, the average feedback score we got overall was 4.8. And I think people like different things. What works for one person is quite different to a different community member. So
Set out of 5?
Pardon?
You had 4.8 out of 5?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I was like, oh no, it's my presentation mucked up and I made a mistake, Corey speaking. But yeah, so it's 4.8 out of 5. I think people like the informality of the space, to be able to connect to others, to have and share in moments of learning. But I think also add to that by bringing in cultural, music, celebrationary elements, then you create a lasting memory on people that is much more than just your typical crypto conference. So I think the aesthetics were really well received, the meeting and that side. So Parallel Society Festival 2. It's more than a conference. It's an assembly. How can we create human experience, put humans at the center, and give them an environment to kind of integrate with what are the key things that are happening in our space? The events segment is very saturated in where we're playing. You know, the battle between the main event, be it in ETH, be it in ETH Denver, and the side events. So really, like, we can be disruptive. We can do things that are more exciting. We can bring together people together in different ways and bring together in the coalition the people that we see that are cutting edge and doing things differently with residencies, pop-up cities as well. This is a little bit more of a similar kind of theme, but you can see where we're positioning Parallel Society Festival. So it's a coalition-based approach that's authentic. And really, we want to put culture at the heart of that to really strengthen key things that technology is doing and projects both within our ecosystem and outside of IFT are also contributing to. Mission and beliefs, a little bit of repetition here, but how we create a culturally unique experience and how we can really come together as a community to write the future now. In terms of beliefs, really being local first, then global. So we'll come to the location potentially next, but that we bring a global lens, but we're really supporting local communities, demonstrating application and advantages of our ideas, that we're kind of moving on from this idea that culture is upstream from technology and can really help preserve the projects and the innovations before, beyond initial implementations. So the program, combination of talks and workshops, interactive installations, cultural performances, and zones. And the idea around zones is that coalition partners can have their own zone and have their freedom to curate, their experience within a much broader experience as well. So day 1, it'll be 2-day. It will be more unconference format, the core of the event. So we will come together to talk, ideate, plan, and connect openly. Mentioned the point before about different coalition partners having their own zone, but having more diversity in program gives the attendee and the community member much more choice in the experience or the interactions that they may want to engage with and create their own program for the 2 days. So we'll have zones and a main stage, and ourselves and coalition members will be able to contribute to that programming on the main stage, but the zones will also create those smaller intimate working spaces, so where people can kind of really come and have workshops together, different formats to the big main stage that you often see at the events in this space. This is a proof of concept. We don't know if our venue yet will look like an arch, but kind of shows how we would break things up. Day 2, Music and Arts Festival. So the purpose of Day 2 is to strengthen the alliances forged on Day 1. Support local talent, support local artists, activists, people that really have impact locally, with supplementary people that, fall into kind of aligning to our values creatively from a global perspective. And it also means that we can broaden the reach and we can sell tickets to something much bigger than just the conference. Here's some sample pictures of events I've done, our producers have done, that would be a corporal part of the team. So it kind of just shows the added elements that we want to bring in. Audience and location. So day one is very much the unconference conference format. It's founders, governance activists, volunteers, builders to really come together to advance the future of our global society. Day 2 would be that call, but it has also opened up broader to local communities, to people that might be interested, that we can bring on board through having a much bigger festival component. In regards to location, we are looking at Argentina, which is where DevConnect is rumored to be, but we're also looking at, if we get enough commitment from a coalition, that creating our own standalone event in a location that is advantageous for community building, for cost, for production, for safety. So we're looking at particularly Vietnam. And if we go for that option, then it would be just before Token 2049 and the Network State Conference. So it's quite a promising option too. Campaign. I won't go into too much detail around this, but this isn't just an event, it's a campaign that will align to our rider movement building strategy. And coalition is important because we can tap into the reach of our coalition. Coalition could be crypto project, music performer, but really we can have a much bigger multiplier on what we can achieve through having a robust coalition. Ideally 7 months. The campaign runs so that we can build hype before, we can sell tickets, we can support our partners, we can support communities. And yeah, there's more kind of information about that there. Obviously, also, we will capture content during the event, which then gives us another 1 to 2 months post event to kind of be communicating with the public. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. How do you see the person who's not exposed to this world that comes to the festival side of this, like being sold the message we're trying to send out?
I think it's subtle, and you have different elements and different tracks within your programming. So you try and have different, I might not be fully up to date with our niche, but I might know about pop-up cities, or I might know about cool residencies happening. So often it's a case of what's the lightest point to engage that person. And you see it a lot. When I did big music events, we would always tap into subcultures, because if you bring the people that love house versus the person that loves drum and bass, like, they don't like the other genre, but you bring those people together and somehow they actually start connecting, opening their mind to different things. So it's something to consider, and I think that will come through carefully curated program and partners.
Yeah, great presentation, by the way, and outstanding event. That was I think that could have been my favorite event we've ever had that I've been a part of. Maybe the one that is combating that would be our hackathon in Prague a long time ago. But yeah, it was so much fun, and the production value and aesthetic of it all was so good.
Thank you. It was very much a team.
Looking forward to the next ones and more music, because everyone apparently just absolutely just loved the music show at the end. All right. thanks to you. And for anybody who has questions, hit up Lou and comms team and so on and so forth. And let's keep us informed on how it goes. Up next, we have Gabriel to discuss something that I'm quite excited about, and that is replacement of like implementing Inwaku into status go, bringing it to the stage. And I'll let you go through the presentation first, and then we'll have a little conversation about kind of the process of this, the thoughts of this, what's next, and so forth afterwards.
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, I'm Gabriel. I'm working Waku. I've been here for like a year and a half in Waku specifically. And yeah, I'm going to show you today the work that we've doing the last few months on starting using NWaku in status clients. First status go, first status desktop, and we'll then move forward. And it's something that we've been working mainly with Ivan and Richard. It was like team effort, a really big effort, and like a week ago we got to our first big milestone that we want to share with you. So yeah, I'll give some background. So we have 3 Waku implementations: NWaku, GoWaku, and JSWaku. NWaku has always been our reference implementation, and JSWaku was thought for browser environments, and GoWaku kind of had the same features as NWaku, but was used in status mainly. So NWaku and GoWaku were our main or full nodes clients or full relay nodes clients, and they both kind of did the same thing, and we figured out that it wasn't a good idea maintaining the 2 of them at the same time. Like as anybody who has worked with large code bases know that maintaining code is kind of a pain, and having 2 repos, 2 really big repos that have to have the same features. So it's not only writing the same code twice, it's fixing bugs in each of them, different bugs, and then maintaining compatibility between them when one performs changes in one. So basically it was really inefficient. So there was a strategic decision of getting rid of GoWaku and just focusing our efforts 100% in NWaku. And this has us, like as a consequence, we had to take care of our main customer of GoWaku, which is Status, and give them a working alternative with NWaku. So this is the background of the work we're doing now. And our initial approach was first developing libwaku, which is a shared library that is supposed to be used by any programming language that you want, almost any of them. It has a C interface, so most of them, so most programming languages can interface with C. So we build just this shared library that it will be our unified way of interacting with the protocol. And once we had that done, the idea was to integrating that directly into status go, just plugging it in and changing the calls that were supposed to go to GoWaku and change them for calls that would use libwaku instead. And that was a kind of a really naive approach we figured out pretty quickly, because it added lots of complexity into status go that was not related to status. It was all Waku code, Waku logic trying to interface with C in status go, and that wasn't the concern of status. So we figured out that that wasn't a good approach. And after that, we settled in our final solution that was developing a new repo named Waku Go Bindings, which is a Go package that handles all the interface between libwaku and Go. And the idea is to be able to install this package in any Go application. In our case, in status Go, just like anyone would do with any Go package, and start using it. It might not be as simple as any other Go package. Maybe it will involve adding 1 or 2 lines of code in the makefile or something like that. But the idea was that with 2 or 3 commands, you could interact with a Waku node, with an NWaku node from Go, just without thinking what's going on behind. And this approach maintains a clean architecture that we maintain separation of concerns. Like Waku logic is in the Waku Go bindings, and status logic is in status Go, and also it's modular in the sense that any other Go project can start using a NWaku node by using the package the same way that status Go uses it. So it is reusable, and because the logic remains separate from status logic, we can test it separately in isolation, and that also helps us maintain the quality of the code we're introducing. Because once we if we have a bug and if we don't know if it's in Waku Go bindings or in status Go, it's much more difficult to develop, and there's many more places where things can fail. So that was our solution, and this is a simple diagram of the new architecture we have, or that it's basically status mobile and status desktop both use status Go as a dependency. It's the main dependency that powers them, let's say. And now, instead of status Go using Go Waku as a dependency, it will use Waku Go bindings in the same way. It will even have the same API, the same calls, the same everything, but it will be Waku Go bindings instead of Go Waku, and Waku Go bindings behind the scene without anybody noticing it. It's using libwaku. That libwaku is part of NWaku. So those are our final design. And yeah, some challenges that we had were first running NIM code from Go, in the sense that that each language has its own quirks and its own design decisions. So NIM wasn't developed thinking that it will work on Go and same on the other side. So taking 2 separate runtimes and having them work efficiently in a production grade application, it's a challenge on itself. Then related to this, basically the main challenge that we had was adapting a single-threaded NWaku node to work seamlessly in a multi-threaded Go program. Because not only we had to synchronize the threads from Go to our Waku node, but the internal machinery of Go works in such a way that it just spins up threads kind of at will, and it's not something that you control manually. So we had to develop it in a way that it supported getting concurrent requests at any time from any unknown thread and still working. So yeah, still work. So that was the hardest part of all. And yeah, and then just the idea of orchestrating 4 moving parts and making them work in harmony, that's always hard. We have 4 different repos, each one with its own programming languages, also with their design decisions, and three of them are really, really, really big code bases, and having the four of them working properly in harmony, it's also a really big task. That there might be some assumptions in one repo that doesn't hold in another one, and whenever we debug things, we have to see where of the four places the thing is happening. Okay, the four places that I'm talking about are status desktop, status go, Waku go bindings, and libwaku. So every time something breaks, we have to see where in the four places it's broken, and yeah, having the four of them work and not together and not explode, it's hard, but that's what that's kind of the milestone that we reached last week. That is, I'll show a quick demo. That is having an instance of Status Desktop working with NWaku as a backend. This was in my local machine, but it's the first time we got it to work. So I'm showing a video first. This instance of Status Desktop, I started spinning up using our private branches, and yeah, first we create the account, and once we create the account, the node starts working. I don't know if you can see it here, but all these logs are from the NWaku node, and I don't know if you can see it well in the screen, but you can see the files that end with nim, protocol.nim. So it's using NWaku basically, that you can see from the logs shown. And okay, let's continue. And what I did, this other instance of Status Desktop is one I downloaded from the Status official website a long time ago, and I'm adding this official release of my account in this official release of Status. I'm adding it. I'm sending a friend request from the NWaku powered one. So I send the contact request, and I get a notification here with the contact request, and also this video, I didn't increase the speed, so basically the time that it takes to for messages to get from one place to another is the real one. It's not an accelerated one. So yeah, here I answered and got it. Then here I answered again, and the messages flow pretty quick from both instances. And now what I did is I stopped the NWaku instance. I closed it completely, and I'm sending a message from the official release one to that account that I'm running in an NWaku instance. So I'm running it again from scratch, and I'll move a bit forward the video because it takes like 30 seconds to spin up. But yeah, so it spins up again with the same account that I created, and here's the chat we had before. And if we wait 5 to 10 seconds, something like that, now we got the message that we sent while the NWaku was offline. So it means that also store is retrieving the messages correctly, and we're getting historical messages from even if the NWaku instance is not running. So that's the quick demo. And yeah, and the next steps are, first we'll want to get Status Desktop to run using NWaku also in Linux and Windows, because what I showed you was in my local MacBook. So it's really raw, but we got it to work. That's now we want to get to that stage in the other platforms, in Linux and Windows. Also, want to fill all the missing gaps and get to feature parity with the current status desktop that uses GoWaku. Because again, it was super raw. It was just to get it working and to send messages, but there's lots of features that are kind of turned off. So we need to get to feature parity, and then after that, our idea is to start the process before switching permanently to Enwaku in status production versions. So what we'll do is we'll ask we'll do lots of dogfooding with other CCs, and I'll probably spam you a bit with requests of dogfooding in the next months. So yeah, just to find any issues and take care of them to make sure that there's no regressions. We'll also work along the status team and do extensive testing and benchmarking just to make sure everything works properly and it's safe to perform the switch. And we hope to be able to do the switch in H2 of this year, and by that time we will already have been dogfooding for a few months, and then just to get to that point confident that it's not as a risky decision, that it's properly tested, and afterward at the end, once we finish with Status Desktop, the idea is to do exactly the same but for Status Mobile, and once we get Enwaku working Status Mobile, then we can archive GoWaku and just focus all our efforts in Enwaku, and move as fast as possible and maintain the highest quality that we can, just focused on that on Enwaku. And yeah, that's it. That's all.
That's a lot, not just all. Thanks for that. I'm gonna get a couple questions for you. Like, can you go back to that kind of, I guess, broad architecture of how it flows from libwaku to the end clients?
Yeah. Here.
My question here is, like, as you go from the, I guess, called API of libwaku into Waku Go bindings, how are the bindings? How much are they, I guess, mapped to the architecture of status Go? So if I wanted to build something in Go and use Waku Go bindings, how much am I conforming to the architecture of status Go versus the architecture of Waku?
Yeah. So what we did here was libwaku is like the rawest version of our Waku node that we just ask them for our peers to connect to others or whatever, and it does it. Libwaku doesn't think like it isn't developed like with an API similar to Status Go, but in Waku Go bindings, what we do is all the APIs that GoWaku exposes, we expose them in Waku Go bindings. So it's not thought to fit Status Go, but it's thought to have exactly the same functionalities at what's of GoWaku that it's what Status Go is using now. So in Status Go, the same calls that they are doing now to Go Waku, they'll find it through the Waku Go bindings, and 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 that will make the integration seamless. But it isn't developed thinking in terms of status Go. It's more developed thinking in terms of Go Waku, because status Go is developed based on how Go Waku is developed. So it's just like switching, and it works.
Okay. Yeah, Caro bringing up a point of accidental complexities, and I think this is kind of what you mentioned around with the kind of matching the threading model. Situations like that make it a bit difficult to ensure that things work appropriately when you're using a NIM background in the Go application. Is that right?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, lots of complexities will appear, and that's why it's been so hard. But we've been able to overcome most of it. We can see in the working demo that we got that we got it to work, and it works well. I think that the biggest complexities of integrating Go with libwaku using NIM, I think that most of those difficulties are kind of behind us. I think that now our biggest difficulty will be having in NIM functionalities that we don't have in Go, in the sense of that the libraries used in Go are much more mature and battle tested than the NIM libraries. So, for example, for metrics, the metrics library that we have, it's thought and designed to be only used by a single thread. And now that we need to use it for multiple threads, we'll have to re-architect that library and have it working in this context. So I think the main difficulty now will be that having in NIM the same features that with libraries that we have in Go, but I think that the integration of the language itself and the threading, I think that we got it to work, and I think it works well. But we'll have to do lots of benchmarking. It's but yeah, that will be most of the focus of this half of the year.
For sure. There's definitely a lot more work to go from here. And I see from the comments we have situations to discuss and more to work through. So definitely appreciate this. I'm super happy that this was done, and I'm interested to see how it moves on from here. Do you have any, like, we can talk about timelines different time, because I'm not sure how fast this moves, because it depends on all of those complexities. So thanks a lot for telling us about this and making this milestone, for that matter.
Thank you, a pleasure, and thanks for the time.
Yep. As for the rest of this time, 15 minutes, I can go through some of the publications we've had across the IFT. There's a lot of stuff that goes on, and it's not necessarily easy to follow everything that goes on from any individual project. So I thought I'd use a bit of the time left over to try and highlight at least the more public things that we've done, such that you can read them, keep up to date with some of the more concrete, ossified things we're broadcasting, and then go engage with it. So, from publications, and this is over maybe the past 2 weeks. So we have, this is showing the author, this is Codex, but the author, we have revolutionizing AI with decentralized storage, a couple from the blogs on blog.codex.storage to go over how Codex has any type of influence or impact on AI and what that might mean. So I definitely recommend you go reading that. They've had quite a few blogs over the past, so their blogs have been quite up to date. Recommend going and reading it. And we also have other exciting use cases for decentralized storage. So over the past short-term time, Codex is spending a lot of time trying to highlight what Codex can be used for, because it is quite general. So go read those, go engage with them, go ask questions, go try and build on it, go share with your friends. Outside of other blogs, over the past 2 weeks, we have the Nimbus team introducing the idea of the portal client, our Fluffy, which is a really interesting progression, something we've talked about in Ethereum for a long period of time. Now that it's starting to kind of come to fruition, you may have heard of this through like stateless Ethereum a long time ago. So the portal network is the, I guess, new version of what that concept and push is. We have a client now. You can go use it. Go talk to the Nimbus team on how to use it, what to use it for, how to integrate it. And if you didn't know about it, we've had 3 hashing it out podcasts over the past 2 weeks or so, and for each of one of these long form podcasts, we have about 4 medium term cuts that point to a specific part of that conversation, and publish that too. So go listen to those, play with them, share with your friends. FOS and DGen 1, that's the new individual hardware client, like an Ethereum phone. I think that's what it used to be called, Ethereum phone, that runs Nimbus in the background. So go check that out, listen to them, see why they built it, how it works, so on and so forth. And then we have Greg from Akash Network, which is like a decentralized AWS. They do a lot of good talks on AI and the Akash network that works today. So go listen to that. And finally, Brantley from the Ethereum Follow Protocol, used to come from ENS, made the Ethereum Follow Protocol, which is effectively a large trust network on Ethereum. So who follows you, how to follow you, but underlying, it's much more of a kind of a list protocol on building a lot of trust within Ethereum that leverages ENS, and he calls it a primitive of what he likes to call the identity stack within Ethereum. So go look at that, how you could be useful. I really enjoyed that podcast as well. And then we have a bunch of forum posts that have happened over the past 2 weeks. Back, 4 of them back, Moment in Status. We got about 10 minutes. Let's see. Frank posted the case for Waku financial incentivization. This is a part 4 of a 4-part series, and the last of the Waku explanation series. And he tries to make a case for why we need incentivization within Waku, or what even incentivization means and where it fits into Waku. And he gives a nice case study for how Railgun uses Waku. So I recommend reading that, and then coming and starting to engage with that on what you think about incentivization within Waku, how it could be used, what it could be used for, how to introduce it, whether or not it's useful or not, etc. Notion, or Nomos, had a really great blog around the differentiation between sparse Merkle trees versus indexed Merkle trees, and how those could be implemented within Nomos, and the trade-offs within Nomos. And this is a really, really in-depth blog of how these things work, their differentiations, implementation details, performance trade-offs, how you would use them, and so forth between the two, with good conclusions and comparison studies. So this is a really good in-depth view of these two implementations and how they can be useful within Nomos or the broader scheme of things. So if you're interested in these types of data structures and algorithms, go take a look at this one and engage with it. So this is an older blog since September 2024, a post about the API for end-to-end reliability for status. So Waku has been trying to abstract away some of the ways in which it exposes how you use Waku to status, such that when status uses Waku, it has stronger guarantees around message delivery and reliability. So go check this one out. Over the past, it's an older blog, but there about 8 days ago, there was an update to it, giving some, I guess, much later details on the plans and thoughts around Waku providing a reliability protocol to status. Go engage with that. And last but not least, from the VAG forums, at least from what I caught, at least, is Richard Ramos talking about a very outdated but very important library that we all depend on for Bear SSL, and what we should do about either picking a new one, discussing its maintenance, etc. For those that are concerned with some of these larger dependencies that we use for projects and how we concern ourselves around either maintaining them or using them, and vulnerabilities around them, go engage with this and try and give some discussion around. From the status forum, I posted a reasonably long post around what I think status is and kind of a brand narrative or something we can all unite behind on how it status differentiates itself from the rest of the wallet/chat clients. This turned into a larger conversation around leadership and history within status, which you can read, which is quite interesting. But if you do engage with this, I please say engage with the original post, but read the other content because I think it's useful for the organization. If you have ideas around that, don't bring them here, bring them to me, and it's useful for a larger context, but it's a really engaging and interesting conversation on the least. What else do we have for the town hall? That's all I have for larger public communications within the IFT. If I've missed something that you know happened, I'm sorry. Let me know for the next one, and I'll include it. And if you would like to be involved with one of these town halls to show off work that you've done, hit me up, and we'll include it. And any other feedback, let me know. So, thanks again. I hope next time we'll include using Kwaku, one of the applications for Q&A, as a part of this town hall process, so that I can do questions and answers live using the technology we're building across the IFT. So, that's it for this time. Thank you very much.